Hi everyone. So I'm so excited today to speak to my colleague Jason. We live very close to each other in the world. So if you're tuning in from overseas, we're really close. We're just along the coast from each other. And Jason and I have worked together for about 4 years now, maybe 5 years. He's a brilliant videographer, photographer, digital specialist. And Jason and I have just been chatting about his arrival onto Substack. So I'd be delighted if Jason was on Substack. It would be brilliant for me and it would be brilliant for you guys. But he's just figuring it all out. So we've done that. And then I thought I would just ask him some questions about video and about our consumption of video and about us editing our own videos. And we can just see if there's anything from your questions that we can troubleshoot. I know that some of you are new to sort of playing with video and working out whether people are going to consume your video, watch your videos, have time. And it is new. It's new to us all. Substack are really pushing it, as you know. They are all in on us using video, videographers coming over, creators coming over, but you can keep within your echo chamber of words and images if that's what you want to do. This is just an opportunity to use video if you want to, and yeah, lean into like what might be nice to try, might be nice to play with. So welcome, Jason.
Hello, it's fantastic to be here, and thank you for my lightning tour of Substack. And it all looks very
It's
I
exciting, isn't it?
full hands as well because you're such an expert. And yeah, I'm looking forward to my journey of finding out more about Substack.
I've just said to Jason, put your name in the middle of a piece of paper and then work out everything else because you're like me, you're a multi-hyphen really, aren't you? You do lots of different things. You've got lots of brilliant clients. There's lots of opportunity in life, but it's like, well, what do I want to do? Like, what do I want to bring to Substack? And I think for you, the audio and the video is a massive opportunity right now. So we're going to see how that all goes. So I did show Jason the video editor that we have. I said that obviously we can record live into Substack. We can record elsewhere and upload. One of the things that some of the artists have been asking Jason is just, if they wanted to elevate that video, if they wanted to kind of shoot it as a flat lay and maybe just put a few edits on, what are the programs that you're recommending for that sort of work at the moment? How is it going to be easy-ish for them to do? Like, I think video editing can be massively time consuming, which is why I don't do any of it and I don't even outsource it. I just record on Zoom and then that's what gets uploaded. It's as is. And I do that with the podcast as well. I don't edit any of the video. Now, further down the line, I might be curious about leaning into that, but it's been working fine. Slightly different if you're an artist, I think, because you want to elevate what it is that you're putting out in the world, whether that's your art or a video of your art and your process. So how would you work with an artist that wanted to kind of showcase what they're doing or show behind the scenes?
Okay, so the first question is how clever or sophisticated do you want your edit to be? Because there are several different levels that you could work at. At the one end of the spectrum, you might just want to have a single fixed camera and you talk to people and you might show them things, and it might just be one shot for however long you want to share for. And that is at the simplest end of the spectrum. You can do that sort of thing on your phone, and really you don't need to edit something like that beyond maybe tidying up the beginning and the end. You might want to just put a little bit of a logo or branding in, but that's the kind of the simplest end of the spectrum. Going right up to something which may have several cameras, it might have lots and lots of other shots that you want to put in. There might be music, there might be titles, there might be all sorts of things. Now, depending on the level of sophistication, I would choose my tool that I want to work with. Obviously, as a professional video editor, I use a professional video editing suite called Final Cut Pro. And so whenever I do anything, because I'm familiar with that, that's what I'll use. But you don't have to use something as clever as that. You can use things on your mobile phone. So for instance, there's a fantastic piece of software called KineMaster, spelt with a K, which is a monthly subscription model, and it can edit things. So you can take multiple clips, put them together in whatever way you want, add transitions and music and titles, and pretty much do what I do with my professional level software, but all on your phone or on a tablet, and for a relatively inexpensive, kind of monthly subscription. And then there's things like Canva that people are using, video editing in Canva. It's not something that I'm yet all that familiar with, to be honest with you, but it's definitely something that over the next couple of months, I'm going to be putting a lot more research into to see what it can and what it can't do, so that I'm in a better position to advise people to say, okay, for you, I think this is the best tool. For you, I think this is the best tool. So, I mean, that's obviously if you want to keep it in-house. there are other options which may be that if you want to shoot your own video and do your own kind of talking to your phone and shooting clips and then work with a partner to edit, that's obviously another possibility. And it's a case of how much time you've got. Do you want to spend your time and your effort learning things that you may not use all the time, or do you want to partner with somebody else? So those are the main kind of recommendations that I would give to someone new to video. I tend to use Mac as well rather than PC. It's been many years since I've used a PC, so there will be a whole bunch of software solutions for PC users. But on the Mac, things like iMovie, which is the free video editing tool that comes with your Mac, I think it still comes free with your Mac. It's fantastic. It does everything that you want it to do. Yes, there is a little bit of a learning curve in how does it work and how do I do it, but I would have thought that a little bit of a couple of hours with somebody who's used it and can give you a little bit of a hand up would be just enough of what you'd need to get started.
That's really helpful. And yeah, I feel like since the pandemic, we have had more of an invitation to go, okay, well, I need to learn about this. How can I learn it? So we could search on YouTube for tutorials. We could join Skillshare. There is a couple of options there. And like you say, sometimes it is just trial and error. Sometimes it's finding a mentor. Sometimes it's employing someone. It's really working out about energy efficiency and what you want to do for yourself and what you want to spend time doing. So I did some experiments with 360 video not that long ago, and I found the upload process wholly confusing. I worked with a digital specialist through a UK organization that was totally funded and free. He was super helpful, but I still got to the place where it's like, I don't actually think this is for me. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to carry on with this, but it was fun to try. It was fun to give it a go. And I think sometimes we just have to try things out and give it a go. And we have to think, is this the best communication tool for my readers, for my audience, and work that out? On because we've got so familiar with using our phones, and we can, on Instagram, for example, we can add music, and that's all kind of popular music. We can share it on stories, we can make a reel, that sort of stuff can go out. If we were to download that reel from Instagram and upload it to Substack, it would be in portrait rather than landscape. But where do we stand with the use of music, Jason? Like, how do we know that it's okay to use music? I know there are licensing laws and things, and in different countries it's different. Do you know much about that?
Generally speaking, if music is commercially available, i.e. if you have to buy it from somewhere, especially if it's, or if it's on Spotify or something like that, you probably shouldn't use it. If it's somebody else's creative work and has been designated as, a work of art that is for sale, then really it's off limits. The way that I use music is I subscribe to a library of audio and video, which is called Motion Array. There are many. I mean, things like Canva have got their own library of music. The question about if I create something on one platform and then download it and use it on another platform, will that be okay? Is a very good question. And the answer is it may not always be obvious. Because it may be that Instagram have a license with certain creative producers to use, a library of music. But if that content is then moved to another platform, it may be that it's pulled by that platform because it doesn't recognize the license agreement. So I think in terms of total safety across multiple platforms, your best bet is to subscribe to a music library. There may be some that you can use free. I know that Storyblocks has a free tier. It may be that there are others that have free tiers, but there are lots of music libraries. Pond5 is another. Do a search for music library, free music. Now, you also have to be very careful because using free library music, if you search on that, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can just download it and use it free. You have to subscribe and you have to be the license holder. So there are little caveats. I'm happy to chat to anybody who wants to know a bit more about that. But generally speaking, moving from one platform to another, use caution. If you have your own music or you've got creative friends who've created their own music, why not promote what they do and use some of their music? That would be my advice. It may be that you've got a network of people who create music and you can use theirs.
We might be able to do a shout out into Substack notes and ask for that as well. I know when I was first deciding to do the podcast, I wanted to get to a place where I commissioned somebody that we both know and work with, someone called Bridie Jackson. So I wanted to commission Bridie for the intro and the outro. I just knew that I wanted to do that. So I gave myself some grace. I did a few episodes of the podcast without that, quite a few, I think, maybe like 7 or 8. And then Bridie and I worked together, and she was helping me to edit the podcast in GarageBand. Now it's the same story as the 360. I'll make it really quick. I was like, this is great. I'll edit my own podcast. It won't take me much time at all. And then, by the third time of trying, I was uber frustrated. And I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not my zone of genius. Like, this is not what I'm meant to be doing with my life. So I now outsource the edits to somebody. She's listed on Sparkle if you do want to work with her. Kerry, she's amazing. So I feel totally safe. I commissioned that music from Bridie. She showed me how it was all going to be arranged and edited in. And then Kerry now edits the new podcast within that formula. And that was an investment, yes, but one that I really wanted to make with artist colleagues, and one that I actually want to save myself time and headspace around. So sometimes, again, it's really up to you, but I think we do have to be quite careful of and conscious about, like, by the time, okay, we've like downloaded Final Cut Pro because we want it to look amazing and elevate it all, and then we've paid for a music library, and then we've got the editing software on our phone. Like, you may as well then be a professional videographer. You might not want to do that. You've got to really kind of balance this out and go, what are you using video for? What is it doing for you? What is it enabling for you? Like, what can you do yourself that you feel comfortable with, and what might be good to outsource to a professional? Like, there's the option, isn't there?
Yes, and I think the important point to make is it's the content that's the important thing.
Yes, yeah.
It's not how great it looks or how professionally it's being edited. It's not about the music. It's not about the bells and whistles. It's about engaging content. So that is the thing you should put most of your time and effort into, thinking, what is it I've got to say? Who wants to hear this? And how can I make it interesting and engaging? Because unless you've got that bit right, you're not going to get you're not going to get the follows, you're not going to get the engagement. And so, yeah, that is the most important thing. And I see so much content that looks amazing and has very, very clever, creative production values, but is a little bit lacking in terms of what it's saying. So, I would urge you to think, who's my audience? What is it that I can give that audience that is adding value to their experience? What is it that's unique about me, and what can I bring to this? So you're not really imitating anyone. You're really thinking, my experience in this world is completely unique. I have a perspective and a vision and something to say, and let me be the person that can say that no one else can say. So it's thinking about you as an individual and a unique person, and how, kind of your voice, I think, as well.
Yeah, and that can be a beautiful evolution into your own unique creative practice as well. Like I said at the start of the podcast, I was like very nervous, not really sure exactly how to articulate things the way that I am now, but I had to do that to get here. So yes, we can use tools. If you use GPT to write a script for yourself based on your language and the way that you use words, it can be very effective. It can also sound like a robot, So it's like you can use these tools and then bring it back to the authentic voice that you have. People want that. And if I've learned anything about the Substack platform, it's that people really, really lean into the way that I teach. They really like my accent, so that's not something that I've ever really celebrated, being from the northeast of England. Like, I do and I don't, it's like you're proud of it, but then also you try and hide it sometimes as well. It's weird, but abroad they love it. It's like, great, that works then. So we can celebrate all of that. On the mic side of things, Jason, so if somebody wanted to make sure that that sound quality was really good to listen to, so I've done a tutorial before and I'm just grabbing it here. So I have got one of these for podcasting that occasionally I'll plug in, but often I'm just using my Apple headset as I am today. I just wondered if you had any thoughts around if someone is drawing, if there is something that's going to be noisy with the pencil and that you're going to hear that, what you might set up in terms of something that works so that it's not distracting but isn't like a massive professional setup. What would you say on that?
Okay, I've got a couple of things which are slightly off camera. I'll just be a second.
Great, you can grab them. They're so fascinating. It's great to have seen so much evolve over what is possible for us to do, but then also kind of working, well, what do we want it to look like? And can we set something up that's permanent that we can just jump in front of and record? That's the other thing.
Okay, so for most dialogue, I would use a small lavalier microphone. So this is called a Rode filmmaker microphone. Okay, so that's the sort of thing that you would just pop here, and it almost disappears when it's on camera. And because it's here, it's picking up not just my mouth voice sounds, but it's picking up my chest resonance as well, and it gives that really nice warm sound, which you wouldn't get if you were holding it here. Okay, so these I've got a few sets of these, and you can get wireless versions of these, so you can pop that into a little transmitter and then have the receiver on your camera or your phone, so that you don't have to be tethered to your camera, especially if you're walking around or you know, doing a workshop or something like that. You don't want wires in the way. So I would recommend what this is called a lavalier, or sometimes a tie mic, and they're very discreet and they're excellent sound quality. If you don't want to be quite that sophisticated, you can use a digital recorder. So this is a very inexpensive Zoom Handy H1N audio recorder. So it's a digital recorder, and on this end, it's got microphones. It's got a little SD card in here. It runs on batteries, so I can use that, and I can either pop that on a little stand, or I can use it out and about in the field. I've got this special thing that goes on it if I want to use it in the wind, because I'm sure you'll have heard video content from people who have recorded on an iPhone, and it just sounds really horribly blown out because the wind has got into the microphone. The wind is a microphone's worst enemy. So if you're using a microphone outside ever, you'll need to pop an acoustic shield on it that's kind of fluffy to stop the wind blowing the sound out. You can take a lead from your digital recorder into your camera or your phone so that you can kind of sync the audio. The way that I work is I tend to record the audio separately and then put it together in my audio software, sorry, my editing software, so that I can sync it up. It just gives me more, control over where I'm recording things from. As I say, there's a whole bunch. Rode Go is another great kit where it's aimed at people who are kind of doing their own vlogging or podcasting. Again, small wireless piece that goes on your clothing, and then another piece that goes on your phone or your camera and just receives the signal. That's called Rode Go, and you can get all of these things on Amazon.
Great, super interesting. So loads there, and I will get some of the links and pop those below the post so you can click into those and have a little look. The last question, Jason, that I have is about organization, because I've watched my husband so many times try and organize his footage, organize the storage of the memory to then use the editing software. Like, as you know, he's been working on that for like around about a year. So because he's kind of shifted what he's doing for work, a couple of the schools projects that we've been working on, I've been like, well, you can edit it, you spend some time, we've got all the time in the world, just spend some time working it out. And the thing that trips him up every time is the organization of the footage, and like organizing the files, finding where he's left off, and like all of that sort of thing. Is it just practice, or is there a methodology that you use where you're like, I know exactly where I am, I'm not going to lose anything, that's that memory bank there? Like, how do you do it all?
Well, it is good to have some principles. Obviously, I'm working on dozens of projects at any one time, and so for me, I have to be organized. And what I do is I only work on external hard drives for a start. I don't have anything on my computer's internal hard drive that could ever really make life hellish if it was lost. So I use these small 1 or 4 I use the 4 terabyte ones because I've got so much video, but you can get 1 terabyte versions of these. This one's by Seagate. Western Digital do them as well. You can get slightly thinner ones. This one's by Toshiba. So those are what I store all of my content on, and I work always on an external hard drive, and I always keep a backup of those as well. So for each hard drive, I've got a duplicate hard drive, so that if one of them breaks, and it's rare, but they will, very occasionally, I've got a backup. So I'll occasionally just copy everything across onto another one. In terms of the organization within my hard drive, I will have a folder for each. I would call them client, you might call them project or organization, or whoever it is that you're working with. If it's just you, then you might want a folder for each discrete project that you're working on. Okay, so within those folders, I've then got all of my assets, and I will organize them into audio assets, graphics assets, documents, and then video footage, and there may be other things as well. And then in the video footage folder, I will have again a series of folders which relate to the dates that things were filmed on. So that's my kind of typical hierarchy of folders. I'm also keeping notes, so I've got just a little note on my phone which has got a list of everything that's on my hard drives. I always have a notebook. I might be a digital person, but there's absolutely no excuse not to write things down. And this keeps me organized. And it's great to keep a paper backup of things that are important. And just also, I think there's a different process in your brain when you're just writing things on paper. I find that if I'm typing things, I don't remember that so well. But if I write something, for some reason it goes in better. And so I would urge you to write written notes on paper for the projects that you're working on as well.
That's super helpful. Yeah, there is definitely something about the analog and the physical, like hand to paper, to being able to see it, the slower pace of it all that just helps us to plan things out and work things out that way. That was super helpful. I've got so many more questions I could ask, but I'm going to jump on another call. We're going to do a Sparkle call this afternoon, so I'll go and do that. But I will say, and I think Jason's going to be on Substack. I think that's going to happen. So we're going to figure it out. And then when he is, obviously, I can send you over to his Substack and we can see what he wants to deliver on the Substack platform. But you can also find him online. What website are you on at the minute, Jason? And what's your socials?
My socials, I'm Jason Thompson on Facebook. I'm Jason Alexander Thompson on Instagram. I also do Rolleiflex photography, so I'm Jason_Rolleiflex on Instagram as well.
Okay.
I'm just getting my website sorted out at the moment, but it's sound-ideas.net or soundideasmedia.com. I'll be putting some more up-to-date information on those websites over the next couple of months. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
Lovely. Oh, thanks so much, Jason. It's been so nice to connect in and to speak to you about this stuff. I had loads of ideas as you were speaking. I've got to sort of sit on my hands a bit because I love video as a creative medium, but somehow the executive function part just dies whenever I try and do anything. So I need to be much more the queen of outsourcing, maybe keep the creative ideas, do part of them, and then outsource the edits or something. I'll figure it out. But thanks again.
All the very best, and thanks. It's been great.
See you soon.